resident of a school district, they have a right to get even related services, even if they're privately placed or homeschooled. And this is an issue that we find a lot, is that, and we find it for the younger kiddos a lot more than the older kiddos, but for instance, like preschool age. But what'll happen is a school district will recommend, say, a special day class or a classroom that the family is not comfortable with. So the family will privately place, or they'll do homeschooling. But the IEP also recommended speech and OT and maybe physical therapy. The law actually says that the parents can say, I don't agree to placement. I'm going to privately place my child, but I do agree with speech, OT, whatever the related services, and I'd like them being implemented. The school district is technically supposed to be providing those services within relation to what is being offered. So for instance, if an aid is offered and the parents are not placing them in a public school, then the aid isn't necessarily something that has to be provided. If they're recommending group speech that's supposed to be pushed into a classroom setting and they're not in a public school classroom, then that wouldn't apply. But individual speech, or even sometimes small group speech, occupational therapy, those services can be provided. It would be most of the time up to the parents to, transport their child to the public school campus. But they still are technically entitled to it, whether or not, they are enrolled in that physical, special day class or general education class. So, it gets tricky on, a lot of schools don't really know the intricacies of that. Administrators are like, well, you're not enrolled, so we don't have to provide you anything. But technically, that's not what the law says.
Because that's what we've always been told, and parents just kind of go, well, I guess we're homeschooling, we don't get any services, or we get what we get, and yeah.
And unfortunately, it's because of the way that the enforcement of the law plays out that it makes it challenging, because it's not something that the State Department of Eds are, monitoring. It's up to the parents to file for due process to say, my child is eligible for services, I've consented to those services, and they're not being implemented. They either would need to file a state complaint with the Department of Ed for non-implementation, or a due process complaint. And so unfortunately, it does place the burden on the parents to seek out assistance or do it themselves.
Yeah, I think a lot of parents that I've known, where they've gotten the evaluation done when their child is being homeschooled, and they just don't put anything on there for services. And so even if the child would qualify with, getting testing from a private therapist, and they say, yeah, this child definitely needs something, they just won't put it on the IEP because they can't offer it, and therefore they just don't give them anything. And